linebacker awaiting the snap. Scott Daly sends it back. Spot down. Kick up. Jake Moody from 38. It is gone! Time expires! And the Bears win their third in a row for the first time in 5 seasons. Off of Jake Moody. We haven't even met Jake Moody yet.
That is Jeff Joniak on WMVP. And yes, that is Jake Moody finishing off a Bears upset victory on a wild Monday Night Football doubleheader. 25 for the Bears, 24 for the Washington Commanders on a night that featured some great running back performances. Who would have thought it was the DeAndre Swift game, just like that Falcons game was the Bijan Robinson game. We are going to get to both of the great doubleheader games on this Monday night. All games, no news with Nick Shook when Jaden Daniels had the ball in the fourth quarter, Commanders driving up 2. What percentage chance did you give for the Bears to pull this one out after blowing a 13-0 lead?
I think it was probably like below 20%. In fact, Next Gen Stats had it at 15% when he scrambled for 8 yards with 3:14 left. And then when he fumbled and gave the ball back to the Bears, it jumped up to 42%. So we're within the ballpark.
It all adds up math wise. And on a night where, I was ready to talk about all the things that the Washington Commanders overcame. And yes, they lost the turnover battle 3-0 tonight. Jaden Daniels, a bad interception early, and then a great game until late in the rain, affected a couple of plays. The ball slips out of his hands. He never even gets it to Bill, a.k.a. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. The Bears pick it up, but the game's not over at that point.
No.
The Washington Commanders could make a stop, and their defense had played well for most of the night. But if the Bears had lost this game, I was going to point out all the positives. And the number one positive, Nick Shook, is that they went into the bye, and they came out, and they figured out their run game. DeAndre Swift finishes with 108 yards on the ground. He also, by the way, leads the team in receiving because he had that 55-yard touchdown catch off a broken tackle to end up with 67 yards through the air. They did look like a different team up front, and I know that makes Nick Shook happy.
Yeah, it does, because that's been their Achilles heel going back to the Justin Fields era, really, is that we didn't have an offensive line that was good enough to protect our quarterback. We didn't have an offensive line that was good enough to create running lanes for whoever we had back there, whether it was David Montgomery or now it's DeAndre Swift. And I've always thought that DeAndre Swift is an underrated running back, even from his days in Detroit, who could never just quite put it all together. Not saying that he has put it all together, but tonight was probably one of his best performances of his career when it comes to versatility and being a valuable player on all 3 downs, and especially in this inclement weather. As it's raining hard in Landover, Maryland, he's coming through with big runs in the fourth quarter with that big catch and run. He breaks a tackle, one of the worst tackle attempts I've seen in a long time, by the way, and takes it to the house for a crucial touchdown. And then they ice the game, kind of going in reverse here, but they ice the game with runs of 4, 10, 15 yards for DeAndre Swift to move them into field goal range to set up Jake Moody for the game winner. That is what the Bears' identity should be. If you're going to turn around a team, let's go back to the Lions and what they did with Ben Johnson. It started on the ground. It's got to start on the ground for the Bears to help Caleb Williams develop, and we saw all of it come together tonight.
Yeah, don't you just see the imprint of the Ben Johnson offense?
Oh, yeah.
Like easy buttons there. Caleb Williams ended up with great numbers, 252 yards and a touchdown on 29 attempts, 17 for 29. On a night that I thought he made a lot of mistakes, but I think that shows you what a strong team around him. I thought the pass protection for the most part was good. The running game obviously supported him. And then, you have enough plays where you're throwing it to your backs in the flat. You might hit a big one. Let's listen to that DeAndre Swift touchdown catch down the sideline.
Football at the 45-yard line, Bears territory. Snap back. Sugar rush and a throw to the left is caught by Swift. Sidelines. And he gets away from a tackle away at the 30. Angles middle 15. 10. Goodbye. DeAndre Swift. The touchdown. Catch and run. 55 big ones. And the Bears a 2-pointer away from tying it up. 24-22 Washington.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that. Yeah, the Commanders came back in this game. You know what? The Bears did too. That was a touchdown. They're down 24-16 after Washington, has a great drive, finished off with a touchdown by Zach Ertz, and they get that quick drive. That was just the third play of the drive to Swift, and that's the drive, that sets up ultimately the game-winning field goal drive. Now, they did do some Bearsy things right before that. They get the ball right near the goal line. They have a illegal, I think it was a pre-snap penalty right on the goal line. They get stuffed on the goal line. They have a drop on a throw from Caleb Williams that could have gone for a big play to Zacchaeus, and you think, oh man, it's going to be so close. And Bears fans probably don't want to hear it, but they should just be so happy. Like, sometimes programs turn around and teams start to believe in themselves a little bit, and the ball starts going in the right direction with a little bit of luck. And I think they made their own luck by running the ball well early in this game and getting enough stops on Washington. And they got a little bit of luck there with the drop from Jaden Daniels, and they took advantage of it.
Yeah, that's the thing that has been probably the most standout attribute for this team over the last few weeks has been that they are going to battle. Like, bad teams get that opportunity. For example, the Cleveland Browns, just throwing a team out there, but they're not the only one, get that opportunity and don't cash that in. Either don't get in field goal range or don't make the field goal. The Bears did it, and they did it like with a measured drive, like with confidence. Like, we know high pressure situation, but we're going to slowly move down into field goal range. We already like where we are field position wise. We're going to trust our kicker in a rainy night. And they got it done. They got it done in Vegas 2 weeks ago in the fourth quarter. Caleb Williams leading a big drive. Those two games showed me that's the first clue as they start to try to turn a corner under Ben Johnson, that his impact is starting to show with this team because they are battling. They believe they're playing through all 60 minutes. And even when it looks unlikely that they're going to come away with a win, they take advantage of those opportunities that pop up out of nowhere and they cash them in. And that's what makes me so excited for them, because it's not pretty all the time. Over 4 quarters, it's not pretty. Like you said, Caleb made some mistakes. He also made some great throws. He had that touchdown pass to Rome Odunze that was wiped out by offensive pass interference. I mean, I'm just very excited about what we're starting to see. It's baby steps, but it's turning into wins, which is the way you get fans on board with this.
I hated that call on Odunze. I'm glad you pointed that out. That was a huge play in this game. They called an offensive pass interference, and that's just a call you just don't see much. I don't know what's with the OPIs this week, and the Patriots had a couple of bad ones called on them. I get why they saw it, but I think they were calling that a little too close, and that was a great throw by Williams. He also had some plays where he was late, like the 2-point conversion. He has an open receiver. He just doesn't throw it. There's a 4th down play earlier in the game where I thought if he let go of the ball quicker, he gets it, but he hesitates just a little bit and ends up getting deflected. Turnover on downs. There were enough bad things that happened in this game that you thought, man, this is going to be a typical Bears type of loss. One of those things was on special teams. And, I think we just kind of skipped past the fact that Jake Moody is the kicker for the Bears. Jake Moody hit 4 kicks. When they flashed that up, career long for Jake Moody line on the last drive, I'm like, it is raining. It is Jake Moody. You want to get so far past that line. And you know what? They did it. And he went, did he go 4 for 4 on field goals?
Well, he had one blocked.
Yes, the ones that he actually got over the line, he made it. There was one that didn't go over the line. We haven't heard Bram Weinstein in this show, so let's just take a listen to the field goal block call.
Or kicking right to left. Here's the snap, holds down.
It blocked! It got blocked! Washington special teams blocked the kick to maintain the lead!
Logan, you talking about, you think we're going to block a kick because Moody had been kicking them pretty low?
I mean, look at that, though, Fletch. Look at us, almost like knowing what we're talking about.
I have a theory, Greg.
Yes.
We've talked about the juice K-balls and how they're like helping kickers, reach new distances that we've never seen before. And like the field goal record is going to get broken at some point this year, right? But we've also seen some really weird movement on these kicks. And I think that also is related to the K-ball, because that one off the foot, first he kicks it right into a wall of defenders. Yes, it was a low angled kick. Yes, it was ripe to get blocked. But I'm not certain that kick's going to end up between the uprights anyway because of the angle that it came out, unless it does a little bit of the dance back toward the center between the goalposts. Who knows? Maybe he's put a little bit of a fade on it or a draw. I can't remember which one's which. But He might have missed that one. Either way, it gets blocked. Game continues, and the Bears overcome that, which is crucial to this.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a big job overcoming the loss of Tulane great Cairo Santos, but they managed to do it with the most surprising kicker possible, Jake Moody. Shout out to everyone in the chat right now, by the way. Love the comment. I love football. I hate fantasy football, but I love NFL Daily. My poor son almost interrupted the YouTube tonight to walk in right before we were starting to tape, literally crying, which sucks to see. He saw Jaden Daniels lead his team to a great comeback against one of his best friends, and then Jaden Daniels' fumble at the last second gives you the -2. You aren't really a fantasy football owner till you have a game exactly like that. And I'm sure Jaden Daniels is feeling heartbroken too, because he really did play well tonight. You know, I know, look, the ball slips out of his hands. That's unfortunate. The interception at the beginning, that's not like him. But between that, you know, I thought he played really well. The first touchdown throw was absolutely fantastic. Let's listen to that one while we're here.
2nd and 10 at the 22. Snap to Daniels. Here comes another blitz from Chicago. He's got time loading up, launch it all for Chris Moore.
There we go. Catch, and you get both feet down. He did! Touchdown! Touchdown, Washington! Incredible catch by Chris Moore!
That's it right there. The Bears opt to go man-to-man across the board. And this is just what you want. Beautiful pass by Chris Moore. On a slot fade, Jaden just drops it in the bucket for the touchdown.
Ooh, great catch. And that's London Fletcher on the call with our friend Bram. And it's really noticeable that like they're getting these huge plays from Jalen Lane, a rookie who had a really nice double move on a touchdown, from Zach Ertz, who I thought was done a couple years ago and is still playing well, from Chris Moore, who I don't think 99% of the audience is familiar with. And this was like a quiet Deebo Samuel night, no Terry McLaurin. So it's such a surprising group around him. And I thought whenever he needed to make a play tonight, he did, especially with his legs when the Bears did get pressure, which was not enough for the Bears tonight.
Yeah, I think it's essential that you bring that up when discussing this game, because for the first time since maybe like week 1, Jaden looked like himself. Like he looked like the quarterback who didn't have any issue. He was agile again. He was dynamic. You know, he was mobile. He was picking up yards on the ground with his legs in key spots, like you mentioned. You know, 10 carries for 52 yards. He goes 19 to 26 for 211 and 3 touchdowns. Like that is Jaden Daniels, who we know from last year. And until this point, we hadn't really seen 2024 Offensive Rookie of the Year Jaden Daniels. We'd seen like a smaller, reduced version of him. So that should be a really promising takeaway from this game for the Commanders. Yes, the loss will sting, but your quarterback looks like who he's supposed to be, and that can get you so much further, especially without the receivers that you usually depend on either out there or contributing in a big way. That's all really important for you as you go forward. So the one loss is going to hurt, but you're going to flush that, move on, and be very happy that it looks like your quarterback's back to who he is, and you can continue to build around it.
Yeah, the most surprising thing to me in this game was Bears design success rate 56%, which is sky high, and Commanders 34.8%. So you got to give the Bears defense credit. And I was really surprised the way Washington's run game has been going. I thought Cliff Kingsbury was going to dice up this Bears defense, and they came out looking a little better after the bye. Got a comment here that Zach Ertz is the unk of the night. And hell, let's watch that touchdown catch too, because that was the moment where I just figured this game was over. Great throw, great catch by Ertz.
Bill in the backfield with Jaden. He's going to throw for it. Looking, surveying, throws back in the end. That is caught! A diving Zach Ertz! Touchdown! Touchdown, Washington! This is stealing, baby! Like taking candy from a baby! Jaden Daniels knows I got Zach Ertz one-on-one, and nobody has been able to check it today. What a perfect pass!
Bears fans are probably wondering, why do we have so many Commanders highlights at a night they lost? Well, it was back and forth. And we just love hearing Weinstein and London Fletcher.
Can we nominate that booth for like most electric pairing in the NFL? Like that should be an award we give out, most electric booth in the NFL, because they have so much energy. It's always good when they're doing well.
Yeah, they are. And look, it is a lot of Commanders talk for now, but I think it's more about what this game is, what it means. These two teams are trying to make it to the playoffs. I think the Commanders, for the most part this season, has shown me it's more sustainable from last year than I expected, because a lot's gone against them. You've had injuries, Jaden Daniels. I thought the offensive line was going to be a mess. I think the defense is better overall. And I know they're 3-3, but you look at where the Eagles are at, and I feel like they're in a good spot. Then you look at the Bears, and you think, okay, your season ended on a total heartbreak at this point in the season, roughly last year, against this Commanders team. Bears fans are sick of hearing that the Commanders got the right quarterback. Now they're sick of hearing that the Patriots might have gotten a better quarterback. And to get a win like this, to pull it out at the last second, to me, is massive for them. And it's a tough division, but I really do now look at them as a team that, okay, like, keep showing me, but I kind of expect they're going to be playing meaningful games all season long. Maybe they'll make the playoffs. Maybe they won't. It's a deep NFC, but like, they're going to be playing for it late in the year. And wins like this are just absolutely huge. I hate to be like the NFL guy, but like, it's just great to see these two quarterbacks kind of going at it like this. And like, give me this game in primetime every year. This is now like a little mini rivalry in the NFL.
Yeah, well, first off, they get the revenge for their heartbreaking loss last year by giving it back to the Commanders in the same place that they lost on a Hail Mary. Tyreek Stevenson is vindicated or whatever. But I actually think it's a really good case study in the psyche of a fan base and how it can change for the better or the worse year by year. Because last year of Matt Eberflus's tenure ultimately, but there's a lot of optimism going into the season. They have Caleb Williams. They finally have their quarterback. They've made additions in the offseason, and it flopped. And the optimism was probably too much going into the season, and most of us knew that, right? Then that same kind of optimism, but it's more cautious, bubbles up going into this year because Ben Johnson's there. The results are not going to happen overnight. But if you can get results that are tangible, that you've seen in the Raiders game, that you've seen tonight, if you can get that over the course of the season before you get to week 8, you are ahead of schedule. Like, you should be very excited about where the rest of the season could take you. There are going to be bumps in the road, but I personally am now excited to watch Bears games. Last year, it was misery. It is not that anymore. So feel good, Bears fans, not only about this win, but about where your team's headed.
The one little fly in the ointment is just a little bit of the eye test with Caleb. And
yeah,
I think the things that helped him out tonight can sustain. That was a much improved offensive line performance overall, pass protection and run blocking. That's a really good sign. The defense looks like it's rounding into okay, and they're getting healthier on the back end. Like, Kyler Gordon is out there and everything. Like, that's really important for them. That's stabilizing. It didn't shock me when I checked late in the game, and the PFF has the in-game live grades, and that Caleb was under 50 for this game, and Jaden's around 80. Caleb had a very low mark, and I think that's because of some missed throws, some potential turnovers that were there, and that's fine. I'm all about like being able to try to improve as you're winning, because I think you heard it from Troy Aikman. Like, he's been all over Caleb in these games, and I kind of get where Troy is coming from, but I think it's going to be easier for Caleb to like keep improving without the weight of the world and everyone getting on them for losing games like this.
Yeah, and it helps when you get a good day like you did from DeAndre Swift. And it helps when you have not only Rome Odunze and DJ Moore, but also Luther Burden out there making plays. Like, he has weapons. It all starts, though, with the offensive line. And that is why you should feel better. I don't know if it's going to carry over week by week. It's been only one game in which we've seen these improvements. And I don't know if I view the Commanders' defense as highly as you do just because they're old. But they do have a pretty strong defensive front. So if you could take all of that into account at this point in the season, you should still feel good. Like, they have built this offense into what should be a competitive bunch. And as long as Caleb can continue to progress slowly and not make crushing mistakes, which he made mistakes tonight, but they weren't disastrous. He missed some throws. He made a poor decision to keep the ball when he should have thrown away and took a tough hit from Frankie Louvu. That's fine. These are lessons that you're going to learn at this point in the season. If you can keep it all together, gradually improve, you're going to be in a much better place.
Nice game by Louvu. But to your point about not really having as much faith in the Commanders' defense, they've kind of been every other week. They only had 4 quick pressures tonight, which is not a big number. They blitzed over 30% of the time, didn't get much. And the 4 quick pressures are from Frankie Louvu, blitzing linebacker, Bobby Wagner, a blitzing linebacker, and Darnold Savage, a blitzing free safety. So their down 4 was really not getting it done. They got pushed around up front. Ultimately, that is great news for the Bears long term. Okay, that game was really interesting. It was fascinating. And yet, I do not think it was the most fascinating or best game of the night. I know ESPN had their quote-unquote B team on Bills Falcons, but this one I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I loved it. Let's go down to Atlanta.
Buffalo adds another man to the front. They're going to hand to Robinson, right side, through the first wall, around the corner. Here goes Bijan Robinson. Keeps his feet. 30, 25, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown Atlanta. Oh, my goodness. The math on this one is easy. 81 to the house.
Oh, that is Wes Durham calling an 81-yard touchdown by recent NFL Daily guest Bijan Robinson. Okay, he did a lot of podcasts last week.
Nah, friend of the show.
But he's getting the bump. I don't think Bijan Robinson needed like a breakout game or a, hey, like, I'm like one of the best players in the NFL. Like, he shouldn't have needed that. But, I mean, 238 yards from scrimmage at home on Monday Night Football, their first home Monday Night Football game, actually, of the Bijan Robinson era, to beat Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, like, I think that qualifies. He also had 6 catches for 68 yards in that mix of 238 yards. And I thought the way that they used him, Shook, was awesome tonight. He got to show off all of his skills.
Yeah, he did. I mean, I think that he needed one of these breakout games on a primetime stage in order to bring the attention of the larger NFL fan base, both domestically and internationally, to the Atlanta Falcons. Because he plays in Atlanta, the Falcons who blew a tire last year and missed the playoffs, right? But like, you know, it would surprise a lot of people to learn that he had a ton of scrimmage yards last year too. It should not surprise you. We're all talking about Baker Mayfield being in the MVP conversation. You should put Bijan in there too. I know running backs don't win it.
Wait,
often.
I banned MVP conversation. We're not allowed to use the words MVP conversation.
Offensive player of the year, Bijan Robinson. There's your loophole because he's having a hell of a start. Like, consider this real quick, okay? 2 guys in NFL history after tonight have had 450 plus rushing yards and 300 plus receiving yards in their first 5 games of a season. Thurman Thomas and Bijan Robinson. Woo! Like, he's off to an incredible start. And he was the reason they won this game tonight with the numbers that you just described, with the highlight that we just played. He is one of the best, if not the best running back in the NFL. He's looked like it since he was at the combine. He just moves differently. He's dynamic. He can do everything. And when they focus on getting him the football, they are a much better team. And tonight it came down to 3 guys, Michael Penix plus Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and a little bit of Kyle Pitts, and that was enough to win the game.
Ooh, I'll throw in one other guy. How about Jeff Ulbrich, defensive coordinator?
There we go.
Or Raheem Morris. I mean, their defensive plan against Josh Allen was amazing, and fantastic. We will get to that. But I think let's just, to close the circle on Bijan on this 24-14 victory, by the way. I mean, they held the Bills to 14 points, and most of the damage was in the first half. But you think about that first drive, for instance, and it just looked so easy. And he's lined up all over the field, and the attention that he is drawing as a receiver, as a runner, is opening up holes for Drake London. And then, you know, sometimes they're even telegraphing when they're going to run, when they're going to pass out of the pistol, and yet it really doesn't matter. And I was wondering, like, watching this game, man, I know he plays outside sometimes, and I know he plays in the slot sometimes, but this seemed a little extra. And so I checked. He had 15 snaps in the slot tonight, 6 out wide. That adds up to 21 snaps essentially at wide receiver. That almost matches the snaps that he took at running back. That is a high for this season by a good amount. I didn't go back to check. I'm guessing it is the high for his career. And it's one of those offseason stories that's kind of cliche. Oh, they're going to use him as a receiver. Oh, they're going to have 2 running backs on the field and stuff. It's like, yeah, but your running back as a receiver is actually helping the defense out because he's not as good as normal receivers.
Right.
Except for one guy usually, and that's Christian McCaffrey. And now I think we can make it 2 guys, Christian McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson, who all respect to CMC. is not at the same level. Bijan Robinson was the #1 fantasy draft pick, and he's been delivering week after week. Just an awesome performance by the coaching staff and Robinson.
Yeah, and the only thing that I think was missing tonight, at least from a writing perspective, was I was really hoping they would lean on him to close the game, and then he was absent. I think he was gassed, and they went to Tyler Algier, which makes sense. He's a hard-running physical back that you want to get out there to turn up those yards late in the game, get the first downs, close the game out. Because it would have been the perfect Saquon arc, which is he starts fast, he closes games, because that's what the story of Saquon was last year. But that's fine because he's still fantastic. And I'm glad you mentioned the defense too, because wow, what a difference a year can make for a team. A Falcons defense that was largely toothless last year has completely transformed, had the perfect plan for Josh Allen, made him look human, made him look uncomfortable for a variety of reasons that we'll get into. But that was the other key to this game. Limiting the Bills' output, forcing more 3-and-outs than they've had in a long time, and just shutting down this offense and allowing their offense to control the game when they had the football.
Okay, it's a good idea to make it time for Who's Delivered by Uber Eats. It's got to be the Falcons' defense. I mean, that's, to me, who delivered all night. And I could pick a few different plays, but why don't we start at the back and work our way forward? Let's go to the final Bills offensive play of the entire game.
Let's see how many come here. Here's Allen up in the pocket. Atlanta trying to shadow him. He'll move to his left. He's going to throw. He got intercepted. And that ball is down on the play. And that's D'Angelo Malone after Zach Harrison deflected it.
Zach Harrison on the deflection there. And look, they're down 10 there. They're just in hurry-up mode trying to make it happen. But I think it was typical of a day where just Allen always had someone in his face.
Yeah, and look, you can call me a hater as much as you want. I'll take that. But there's nothing other than good offensive line play that warms my heart more than watching a defense send guys at mobile quarterbacks from all angles to where when they try to break the pocket, oh no, I can't go there. I'm going to go the other way. Oh no, there's a defender there. Oh my God, what am I going to do? And it just results in chaos. Oh, I love that. Because there needs to be a counter to the modern quarterback, the dynamic mobile quarterback. And when a defense can pull that off, it's an example of great collaboration and also fantastic coaching and game planning. And I think that's exactly what the Falcons did tonight by caging Josh Allen, by sending pressure at him. I think it was 2 plays prior. They got a free rusher at him and Allen gets the ball out for a completion. But I think that's still stuck in his head in that sequence where it's just like, oh my God, I'm not going to have time to throw all night. I'm supposed to have a good offensive line. They can't stop this rush right now. I don't know what to do. He looked frazzled for most of the night.
Yeah, we've got a great comment in the chat from your co-host, Katie Caldwell, who said some of the Bills' play calling was outrageous. An Elijah Moore end around on 3rd and 1. This is the time for you to give the plug for your other podcast here.
Katie Knows Ball. Check us out on the Gridiron Podcast, Iron in Brackets. We cover NFL and Formula One. Katie's one of my co-hosts. Sean Barry, who works for Fox 13 down in Tampa, is the other. Come check us out because Katie knows ball.
She absolutely does, and she's right that like plays like that drive you crazy. What I would say is a play out of desperation because their normal stuff just wasn't working. And that didn't work either. You can second guess so much, but 2 plays really stand out to me as the ones that were indicative of what happened tonight. They go for a 4th down late in the game in the 4th quarter when it still very much feels like, oh, the Bills are going to come back in this, aren't they? The Falcons are going to Falcon. And on 4th down, they send the heat, flush out Josh Allen to his left, and he tries to flip the ball forward instead of just making a normal pass, which it seemed like he had enough time and room to do so, but he just tried to make a great play by flipping it forward. And that reminded me so much, Shook, of a 3rd down play in the first half where they had been blitzing like crazy, and they wound up blitzing 56% of the time tonight. And it reminded me so much of a play in the first half, a drive killer on a 3rd down where, yes, the pressure was coming, but usually Josh Allen extends that play, and he just kind of threw the ball at the foot of a receiver. I forget which receiver it was. They lost Josh Palmer early in this game, and so they were going deeper onto the bench. And I was just like, wow, Josh Allen just looks a little shook. I'm going to give a ton of credit to the defense, but it's also like the defense was making Josh Allen not play very well. And those were two plays where he did not stay calm and composed like he has been for most of the last two seasons.
And outside of their first drive in which they went down the field and scored a touchdown to match Atlanta, I think that was pretty evident early on. So much that it motivated Sean McDermott to make one of those gutless punt decisions in the first half, like in the second quarter where it's like 4th and 3 and they're near midfield and they're down a touchdown.
Good call.
And I'm like, dude, gutless punt. Like Gregg's going to hate this because why are you punting here? It's 4th and 3. I sincerely believe they didn't think that they could get the fourth down conversion because of how much they were struggling offensively because of results like that.
Well, the numbers would indicate you were right. And man, you think of this game and I just kept thinking, wow, the Falcons, that first half performance was incredible on defense. They need their offense to keep scoring, which they really did in the second half. They need to keep going or else like they can't count on winning this game. And the defense just kept getting stop after stop after stop. They finished the Bills with 6 punts, 1 turnover on downs, which we just talked about, and then the interception. Even before the late interception, he ended up with 2 interceptions, right? So like that is an incredible performance by a defense that wasn't really winning a lot, like one-on-one up front. If you look at their pressure numbers, it's really spread out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know who to single out from their pass rushers. Who I would single out is their linebackers, Divine Diablo and Caden Ellis. To me, they were kind of the key for this game, not just in terms of the pressure, but just the entire defense. Like I said, 58% blitz, 44% pressure rate, and you compare the numbers to the Bills, who are 20% blitz rate, and a lot of those were late, and only 25% pressure rate. So they're not as aggressive, and they're not getting home or to the quarterback nearly as much. How about that? The Atlanta Falcons have a difference-making defense in the year 2025.
I know. It's a beautiful thing. You talk about spread. There was 4 guys with 3 pressures, 4 guys with 2 pressures, 3 guys with 1 pressure. And even the 4 sacks they racked up, each one was by a different player. David Onyemata, Ruka Roro, D. Alford, and Sam Roberts. Like 3 defensive linemen and a DB. Like they brought it from all these different angles. And I think that really complicated the picture for Josh Allen on a night in which he was never comfortable. And if you look at the Falcons defense statistically, they were like first in the NFL in a number of different categories. They were tied for 6th for sack percentage. So this is not an aberration. This is not a one-off on a primetime stage. This is who they've been all year. And that's what makes it really exciting to track them, because you can kind of flush that whole 30-0 loss to the Panthers as just chalk it up to, we had a bad day, we're going to burn the tape. Otherwise, they've been competitive in pretty much every game. And frankly, if the Buccaneers don't hit that field goal, or if Younghoe Koo doesn't miss that field goal at the end of that week 1 game, they might have another win in their tally. Like they're a fun team to watch.
Yeah, they had not given up 300 yards in a game until tonight, and I don't believe did the Bills
finished with 291.
Yeah, the Bills were just under that for tonight. So they, yardage, DVOA, they're number 1. They're already have more sacks right now than they've ever had as a Falcons franchise through this point in the season. And I've been kind of disappointed by their first 2 draft picks, Jalen Walker and James Pierce, which is, Jalen Walker had a big play on special teams tonight. They've each, popped up with a hurry here or there, but they're not playing that much, their first 2 picks. Yeah. And they gave up a first round pick, for Pierce to the Rams, the 2026 pick. And the one thing to the credit, of this front office, and shout out to, Patrick Claybon, who put Terry Fontenot in the top 10 GMs and never heard the end of it from me and from our listeners in the offseason. Well, Patrick Claybon's laughing at you right now because all the moves that he's made, it's getting them to a pretty fun place. Anyways,
yeah.
My larger point was these 2 rookies, if nothing else, what they've done and the way they've built the defense, and the rookies are helping here, they have so much depth, so many different types of players, so many players that they can play, that it really does support this crazy pressure package and all the different things that Ulbrich and Raheem Morris want to cook up. Like, they have enough dudes with different skill sets to do that are versatile. So they are supporting them in that way, and they're playing really good team defense.
Yeah, it's not a star-laden defense. Their most notable players exist in their secondary, which, by the way, shout out to A.J. Terrell, who basically erased Keon Coleman tonight because he wouldn't stop following him around the field. That hurt the Bills' offense as well. And I think that when you're a sum of parts defense and the sum ends up being greater than your parts because of the versatility that it offers you, that will travel, and that will give you a shot against some of the perceived top tier teams in the NFL, which I don't know if Buffalo is. If you look at their resume right now, I'm going to say every team that they've beaten so far didn't win this last week. Most of them are some of the worst teams in the NFL, and the last two teams that they've played, the Patriots and the Falcons, have brought the fight to them, and they've backed down in both of those games. Another thing that a common thread between those two games, and I know I'm harping on 2 losses and I'm sounding like a hater, and that's fine. Josh Allen officially has a problem with throwing picks over the middle of the field because the pick he threw tonight looked a lot like the pick Marcus Jones got on him against New England and Buffalo in prime time as well. So I don't know if it's take him off of prime time or if it's figure out your offense. It's the latter. It's not the former.
Okay, well, they did beat the Ravens in week 1, and I know the Ravens haven't, looked so great since, but that was an incredible quarter out of the Bills' offense. But I think the cracks were showing for their defense already, and the defense was driving all the Bills fans crazy. In the first half of this game, they just looked like a sieve. They gave up 154 yards on missed tackles. And, a lot of that was on the Bijan Robinson run because Cole Bishop had a chance to get him down with about 40 yards to go. But there was about another 110 yards of missed tackle yardage there as well. So, look, they have really struggled defensively. Josh Allen doesn't look the same. And you're right. When you look at the teams that they beat other than the Ravens, it was the Jets, it was the Dolphins, it was the Saints. And we kind of gave like the Dolphins and Saints pats on the back. Oh, you competed with the Bills. You covered. I mean, good teams win, great teams cover. I mean, when was the last time the Bills covered in a game? I guess just that Jets game because, everyone keeps either beating them or becoming closer. By the way, we should point out, because we're done talking about the Falcons defense, that was who's delivered by Uber Eats. So when football makes you hungry, get game day meals on Uber Eats, the official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. I mean, look, Uber Eats got their money's worth there too. That was meaty.
I mean, and you know what? Look, sometimes it shows up later, doesn't show up at all, but that's when you go to their competitor, not Uber Eats. They're always reliable.
There you go. For no reason other than I want to see it. And we really appreciate everyone who is making these Monday nights really fun in the comments and watching, and obviously everyone listening to us on the podcast. But when you watch it on YouTube, you get to look at the highlights. We have the rights to the highlights, and it's a beautiful thing. And I know it's crazy, Shook, and I thought this game was going to go much differently when I suggested that Josh Allen's incompletion against a blitz in the first quarter, I'm actually going to throw it up there for Throw of the Year nominee, because they get a blitzer clean on him. He is falling backwards, and he drops an absolute dime in the bucket to Khalil Shakir, who's not even that open over Robert Alford, who has had a good night tonight. And the review shows Khalil Shakir's out of bounds. But my God, that was an incredible throw. So even on a bad night, Josh Allen can do things that just make you say, wow, Shook.
Yeah, I mean, he's still a superhero. He just looked rather mortal over the last 2 weeks against defenses that have the right plan for him. I don't know if the blueprint's necessarily out. I think it's more about the Bills kind of looking in the mirror, circling the wagons like the Buffalo Bills do, and figuring out what they need to do, which, by the way, stop going away from James Cook in the fourth quarter. I know it wasn't working in the third quarter, but my God, you're in a 1-score game. Keep giving one of your best players the football. It will work eventually, for God's sake. It's been a point of frustration for me for the last 2 games for the Bills. I hope it doesn't continue.
Yeah, I think that is an awesome point, Shook, because look, you saw with that play, like what they needed to do to complete passes against the blitz. It was a humbling night, I think, for Allen as the guy who's now, I think, thought of and known as one of the sharpest quarterbacks in the league. I watched every game of Tom Brady's career, by the way. Once or twice a year, no matter how old he got, like a defense confused him. A defense got him. Like that's football. Like they would dominate and surprise Tom Brady. Like it does happen. But on a night where that seemed obvious, their success rate running the ball on design runs was 60%. Cook was doing great all night. Josh Allen was scrambling pretty well, but Cook goes 17 for 87. So I think that's
with 1 carry in the fourth quarter.
Oh my gosh. Last week I can defend it. The way the gameplay was going and the way they were stuffing Cook for the most part. Like I could defend it. I can't defend it here. So I mentioned the injuries in this game. There were quite a few. Joshua Palmer leaves early with a knee injury. And that led to a lot of time for Tyrell Shavers. That was the man who was targeted on that fourth down. I was trying to think of her third down in the first half. So a lot of Shavers, a lot of Khalil Shakir, but that's an injury to watch. And then Terrell Bernard, their linebacker, was out for most of the second half of this game, and I do not think ever returned to the field. And then for the Falcons, they lost their left tackle, Jake Matthews. So let's wrap up actually giving a little bit of love to the Falcons. You know, the Michael Penix experience is consistently inconsistent. And he had a very similar night, I think, to Caleb Williams, where you look at the numbers, 250 yards, got the touchdown, got the win. They did well enough. He did well enough to win. There were a couple near interceptions late. There were a couple curious decisions. There were some dimes too. If you watch him, this is kind of who he's settling in to be this season. Evaluate for me the experience, with keeping in mind that the points scored in the first half are worth just as much as the lack of points, I guess, in the second half.
Yeah, well, I mean, he had a touchdown pass erased by Drake London's foot going out of bounds on the 1 yard line as time expired in the first half. So we could have added that to his ledger. But yeah, there were times where he would overthrow guys. If you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing that completion to Drake London where he's outrunning Taylor Rapp to the goal line, and it looked like he got in at first look, and then the replay shows his right foot steps out at almost exactly the one as he's reaching for the pylon, which took away like big excitement in that moment, because it was like the Bills deserved that because they had a turnover, which gave the Falcons just enough time to try that, and it was an aggressive attempt by Drake London. It was like, oh, this is like karma, football karma paying off right now for the Bills. But overall, the Drake London experience is exactly how you describe, which is that it is consistently inconsistent, but it's not negative. It's not discouraging. It's just, you got to find more consistency. I hate to say that because it sounds overly reductive, but he has a live arm. He overthrows guys sometimes. He did tonight. He also he has a favorite in Drake London, and he's always looking at him. And essentially from what I've seen so far, is Drake London open? No. Is Kyle Pitts open? No. Check down to Bijan. Like, that's kind of the process that he's going through right now. And I understand that's his top three guys, right? He will get better over the course of a season. I think that his processing is better than some young quarterbacks that we've seen. It's still better than Justin Fields. And that is all a positive. It's just that he's not going to be a star overnight. If you think of Josh Allen's career, it took him multiple years and changing his throwing, form, his technique, and everything else before he became who he was. Just give it time. He'll be fine.
Yeah, he had another decision where he kind of locked in to Casey Washington on a third down when he's well covered by Teron Johnson, and he didn't face much pressure on that play. He didn't face a ton of pressure overall on the night, but it was like he just made that decision when there were more open receivers with better matchups elsewhere on the field. I thought there were a couple of moments like that. He also, on the last Falcons drive, when they ended up kicking the field goal to go up 10, the only thing that they could possibly do to lose the game then was turn the ball over, and he threw it right over the middle to a waiting Shaq Thompson, who played well tonight. I thought,
played well for most of the year.
Yeah, like an ageless Shaq Thompson. And Shaq Thompson, just couldn't pull in the interception after anticipating the play. And we would be talking about Penix's night, quite a bit different if that happened. But I also don't want to forget the dime. So let's actually go back to the first half and let's see the touchdown throw that did stand up to Drake London.
London moving out on the wide side. They take the snap. Here's Penix. Michael looks, rips it. London stretches the ball across. That's a touchdown for Atlanta.
My goodness, what a play by London.
What a catch. And then the presence of mind to reach that joker right over the white line for the score.
It's unbelievable, Wes.
So this play is he's a quarter beat late on that throw, but he's got such a strong arm that he can still fit it in there. He put it in the right spot. It was great play design where he had a receiver kind of take away the defender inside. They're basically playing I think it was cover 2 on the goal line and just making a picket fence. And it's kind of a spacing concept where he just sits down right there. You put on the inside with the defender and outside leverage, boom, touchdown. And you could do that because you have the arm talent, which is why we obsess with arm talent on quarterbacks who come out of the draft, because it matters in tight windows in the NFL. And there's a ton of them in the NFL.
Yeah, and he showed it off tonight, and that was one of those plays where when he reaches that out, you can just imagine it getting knocked out, and that would be such a Falcons play. And you mentioned the end of half sequence when they did not get that touchdown, even though it was a little bit of found money. It was such a unique play where you're thinking at first, get out of bounds, Drake London, so you can kick for the 3 points, and then you realize, oh, it's all or nothing. He's either gonna score a touchdown or you're getting 0 points. And it was so surprising because you mentioned the turnover. That was the clunker of a Josh Allen interception, just trying to do too much. And then he comes up short, and the Bills go into halftime down 21-7, and they get a quick touchdown coming out of the break, and you're like, oh man, that 7 points they didn't get, that's gonna haunt them all night. But the defense just didn't let it happen. Pretty awesome. An awesome performance by another team. Look, this NFL is really heavy in terms of the upper middle. There's a lot of teams, and I still consider the Bills one of those teams. They're 4-2. The Falcons are 3-2, where it's just like, all right, you're in position. Like, you got a pretty good chance to make the playoffs. I have no idea how to separate about 10 to 12 of those teams. This Bills team still has Josh Allen. They've shown that they can figure things out as the season goes along. I've seen some bad Sean McDermott defenses where everyone thinks he's going to get fired by the end of the year, and somehow he turns it around. Even after, Tyler Dunn writes a big feature about how he used 9/11 as a motivational tactic. Like,
I was wondering if you're going to bring that up. They're missing personnel. They don't have Matt Milano. They had 3 healthy defensive tackles tonight. Ed Oliver just came back from injury. They got to get guys back, and I don't want to discount that because that does matter. But yeah,
they always have lulls. They always have lulls. And in the Falcons' defense, they were playing Mike Jarrell at left tackle and Elijah Wilkinson at right tackle in the second half of this game. And they really need Jake Matthews to come back. I mean, that is as troubling a tackle combination in pass protection as you'll ever see. And that's, I think, part of the reason why the offense slowed down so much in the second half. Like, Bijan had, I believe, near 151 yards at halftime, yards from scrimmage. So most of them were in the first half. Drake London had 147 yards at halftime. Like, fantasy games were won in the first half, and then he only added, 11 more yards, but he does end up with 10 for 158 and a touchdown. Last thing on the Falcons before we go. I love that we had Bijan Robinson, and just to kind of close the circle on him on a night where he announced himself, yes, as an award potential candidate. My whole thing with the MVP conversation, Chuck, is just like, what is this conversation? Just, why are we talking about a conversation? Just have it. Just say it.
It's a flawed
it's also
award
week.
Anyway.
It's week 6.
Yeah.
Here's a clue. None of this is going to really matter in the MVP talk. Like, stats, that they're cumulative and they will still count. But ultimately, it's basically what you do from week 11 and 12 onwards that matters. And yeah, we're going to winnow out a lot of players, but there's going to be a lot of players in the mix going into week 10 or 11. And then that's when you really figure it out.
And is your team good? Like, that's the other criteria. Yes. Your team has to be good. There's no MVP. There's no Jerry West losing the NBA Finals and winning NBA Finals MVP. That doesn't happen in the NFL. Your team has to be good too. So that helps us kind of sort it out as well. It's fun fodder for now. You got to fill some time somewhere.
Something about the phrase, oh, why doesn't he should be in the MVP conversation. He should be in the...
Well, I think week 6
just
is
say
the first
what you
time
mean. Like, I would have him top 5 for MVP. Like, say something specific is what I'm saying, because
he's in there.
You can only vote for 3 guys. You can 5 guys. Someone's asking if he's in the Offensive Player of the Month conversation. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what he is? He's in the NFL Daily Guest of the Week
Hall
conversation, maybe of all time conversation. I thought it was really interesting, the question that Jordan Rodriguez asked about the way that he gets extra vision lining up in the pistol. Let's actually listen to him talking last week on the show.
For me, it's just, using my vision and just anticipating what's coming before it even happens, before the play even starts. And for me, it's very important to use my eyes at a very high level and to manipulate linebackers, safeties, D linemen, just every one of them. Because when I do that and when I'm controlling the pace of the game, then everything else is taking care of itself. So
that's a good brand deal, by the way. Colgate Total. He is the total back.
There you go. Vision, power, speed. I loved the question from Jordan. She loves the pistol offense, and I think tonight was a great sign that even if on this particular Falcons team, like the pass and the run aren't always married up, there are a lot of big time advantages, and Bijan talked about it there, and his vision to me is second to none right now in the league. Statement win. Season-changing win. Are the Bills going to be one of those teams that just like every time they lose, everyone's like, oh, the Patriots have arrived. Oh, now the Falcons have arrived. There are tennis players, to use an example that probably most of our listeners don't care about, that like it's like, oh, that's the biggest win of his career. That it's people that just are always handing out those wins. Stefano Tsitsipas back in the day, a top 5 guy. Alex Zverev. Oh, it's the biggest win of their career. He beats number 4. It's like, well, it's not the biggest win of your season if the Bills are just kind of an average team.
Yeah, and that's why we play the games. Parity is maybe at an all-time high right now, or at least it feels like it. It
is like in the upper middle, and yet we still have like 8 teams I feel like we can cross off, including the Tennessee Titans. Brian Callahan was fired on Monday. It's no longer even Monday where Shook is taping, because these games were so good, and we love serving this doubleheader as much attention as it can get. We're going to talk about the Callahan firing, all the other news that has come down on our Tuesday show in the studio with Jordan Rodriguez. So stay tuned for that one. And this was an absolute pleasure, Nick Shook.
Yeah. Doubleheaders, they're good and they're bad, but when the games are good, they're more good than bad.
That is beautifully said from an NFL.com writer who still has some writing to do. Sorry about that tonight. I want to point out to everyone, that's the last simultaneous doubleheader in NFL history. Roger Goodell doesn't like it. They're off the schedule indefinitely starting next year. They're not part of the TV package. Like, that's it. We have one more doubleheader. So if you love the doubleheaders, we got one more for you next week. We'll be live then, but they're separated. No more simultaneous. We'll see you then.